With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
On our episode yesterday with Tony Holler, I mentioned a podcast from our archives, and when I went back and looked for it, it was one that did not make it over. So it's like from 4 years ago, but it's what we were talking about yesterday with Tony Holler and some ideas on using some standards and publishing those to create some off-season motivation. So here's that episode. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes. As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. We're going to take a page out of my notebook today and share an idea that I used back in 2008, so a little over a decade ago, but I think it's something that would be effective today. So thinking of this, for most programs, January is the start of the offseason. I don't know if you're back in school this week or next week, but that's going to start soon. And gains made in the next 6 months are critical. They must happen in order to have success in the fall. So keeping players focused and moving towards their goals and the team's goals sometimes is a challenge. I had a notebook we did back about our off-season competition and the weekly rewards. I thought that was something good we did in a particular setting. I'm going to share a little bit of a different one today that you do see some of those challenges in the off-season. So having a system to provide feedback and recognize the accomplishments of players as they develop themselves helps them motivate and create excitement while they're working through the winter months. Another podcast I want to point back to is the one we did with Rob Pomazak, who's a state runner-up in Illinois in 2018. Rob Pomazak would be a good one. He talked about how to install fun in the off-season, and he had a whole competition, which I think a lot of programs are familiar with. He's got a different twist to his, so you could hear about that one, some of it on our podcast. I'll link that in our show notes, as well as my past notebook on setting up an award system for the off-season. So To help set the stage for this one, this, as I mentioned, was following the 2008 season, and I was beginning my first offseason with a struggling program. We played a varsity schedule in 2008 with only 2 seniors and 2 junior starters, so we were basically a junior varsity team made up of freshmen and sophomores. And while we were able to compete in every game, at some point our lack of size, speed, and strength caused us some major problems. Coming in, I knew that the off-season commitment was a challenge at this particular school. The weight room wasn't great. We had to do some things to redo that and make it more efficient and functional for our athletes in the off-season. But the main thing is we had to build that culture and motivate our players to train to be athletes. A lot of them would get in there and they would do the typical health club type of workout, do the beach workout. They were working on their chest and arms, but they weren't doing a lot of moves which were really helping them functionally become stronger and things that were going to translate out onto the field. As a coaching staff, we sat down, we talked about some of the typical clubs that most programs use, like the 250-pound bench club or the 1,000-pound club for a series of lifts. But the first thing we realized that with both of those were a little too far out of reach for our athletes to accomplish in one off season. We were literally a very young team, again, mostly freshmen and sophomores. So we realized that while developing strength would help us immensely, we had to develop the total athlete. So in order to do this, we set standards in the 4 core lifts, which everybody uses, the bench, the squat, the clean, and the deadlift. We also set standards in the bigger, faster, stronger dot drill. I'm sure you've seen that one before. We wanted to measure foot quickness. We had standards for the vertical jump and the broad jump to measure power. And we wanted to set a standard for the 40-yard dash. But the challenge in our school is there was not a hallway long enough to do that. And the weather at that time of the year wasn't particularly good. We had a cinder track, so it wouldn't work to go out on the track on a dry day and do that. So we just had to kind of set that one to the side and work on that one in the spring. So what we did was we set 2 levels, which we felt if a majority of our athletes reached just the basic level, we would be much better on the field. And we designated those levels with our 2 colors, which were red and black. For us, red then was going to signify varsity ready, and then the black was going to signify our top athletes. And we set those standards and shared them with our players. We set goals at an attainable level with plans to increase the standards in the future as we began to develop more and more athletes in our program. So at this point in time, and the chart that I'll share in our show notes, again, takes into account that these athletes are freshmen and sophomores coming in. Players were very motivated by this and seeing how they could fill up the row of their chart with red and black logos. So we had a cardinal was our logo. We used the red cardinal head and a black cardinal head, the logo which was on our football helmet. And we decided that an approach that would give feedback every 4 weeks with that chart would be something that the players could really see as something tangible and see how they were progressing through the season. It really became a big motivator. So once a player reached all standards for a level, we would also award them with a t-shirt. And when the season started, he would receive a practice jersey designating the level that he reached. Our practice jerseys were white, and we said to our players that they would earn their colors in the offseason. They would receive a red practice jersey that signified what they accomplished in preparation for the season. And again, the red level was what we felt and designated as varsity ready, at least for our particular program. One of our biggest premises was that attendance would make a huge difference. If we could motivate our athletes to show up and work, then our program would take care of the rest. At the end of every 4-week cycle, we recognized any standard reached as well as perfect attendance. And it was no surprise that those who were being awarded for perfect attendance were the same players whose charts began to fill up with red and black logos. Our short awards and recognition session at the end of every 4 weeks was something our athletes look forward to. Love being able to recognize many athletes as we move through the off-season months. The athletes loved seeing the progress they were making as the chart filled up with the red and black logos. The program really helped attendance, and our athletes were physically developing like we hoped they would. While I moved to a position at the college level after that, one of my assistants continued to use that program, and he continued at his coaching jobs in the future. He's doing an excellent job. I believe they still use it at the program he's at. Went on to take a school to their first playoff berth, first 10-0 season in their school history, and he attributed much of that success to the work done in the offseason and this award system which we created. So let me go over some of the specifics of the chart. So the chart had, along the left side in the left column, all the players' last names. And then across the top, it had those different exercises or lifts which we had the players basically working at every 4 weeks. We were going to get essentially a max effort and see the improvement on that. So we had bench, squat, deadlift, and clean. We spent a lot of time teaching and going over and instructing the technique in all of those lifts. Again, we were a place that did not have a great weight room. They essentially had no off-season program before, and we wanted to establish something better. So we taught the lifts. Our coaches were in there every single day. Those guys were coaching their butts off, teaching these kids how to lift properly, working on our culture, working on the attitude. So bench, squat, clean, and deadlift were the lifts. We did the dot drill, the 5-dot drill. I'll find a link on YouTube if you haven't seen that before. It's pretty basic, but it really helped in teaching our players to move their feet quickly. The vertical jump and the broad jump. Again, we were kind of limited in space. We got very creative with how we used the space we had available. Did all kinds of short or small space agility drills to get these guys working as athletes. Again, it was more than just the lifting in the off season. We wanted them to work at all of their athletic ability, and we wanted to be simple in how we measured these things. We had to show these guys progress. We wanted it to be motivational for them. And again, as their chart filled up with those logos, they started to see the difference in what was happening to them physically, how they were becoming better athletes, how they were becoming bigger and stronger, how they were changing in their body types. And part of that comes with those freshmen and sophomores growing up, but at the same time, it really was the work they were doing in the program. And as I said, at the end of every 4 weeks, we would take time, we would have, at the end of that session, their logos going up on the board, and the players really took pride in seeing those logos go up there. And again, the attendance increased as well. We went from a place that really had no off-season program, that had no expectations, to putting those in place and seeing the growth that we had in the off-season. So there's another short one, just some ideas to get you going here. I know I mentioned a lot of resources in that one. Those are not readily available. If you do need some of those, feel free to DM me and we'll see if we can dig those up. Remember to follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com. Sign up for a weekly tip sheet there, which shares the best ideas of each week. And follow us on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.